So why don't we just start off and I'll just start reading these reviews.
Yeah.
No, I think we could intro about some common struggles, maybe one that we've recently dealt with. I can go into like the importance of SEO and Facebook, Google, YouTube, all that stuff. And then I'll go into how detrimental some of these things can be.
Well, what's the evolution of advertising? Newspaper to radio to TV to billboards to...
I'd say street criers first.
Flyers.
I said street criers. People being like, you need to buy this product.
Yeah.
Well before print was...
Popcorn here.
Look at some popcorn here. I got popcorn for a nickel.
Did I send you that video of the guy selling the $39.99 baseball card deck? Or did I just send it to Johnny?
Just Johnny.
He's the greatest sales pitch of all time. This is amazing. We're going to watch it because it's epic. It's only semi-relevant, but it's great. Hold on. I sent it to John because he would have definitely bought from this guy.
$39.99. Guess what, folks? You take the L away. You put a W there, baby. You're a winner, man. You're the real deal. You're picking up chicks. Let me tell you something. You buy this set at $39.99, baby. You're the cock of the walk, man. You walk into the bar and you just find the hottest chick and you go, you, me. Guess what? She says, why would I go out with you? Because I bought the deal on Wild West Deals for $39.99. That's why. She says, can I go home with you? That's how simple it is. That's how it works. That's what this set brings to the table. Because you know what she sees? She sees a man who knows what he wants. She sees a man who says, good deals don't get by me, baby. I move. I act quick. I act now. I go to wildwestdeals.com. Boom. That's why you're hanging with chicks all night long. That's why you got guys like Michael Jordan calling you, want to hang out with you, baby. Because you bought it for $39.99. You buy this for $39.99. Guess what, folks?
Oh my
God.
That's amazing.
Put a W there, baby.
It's incredible.
That's amazing.
Put a W there, baby.
You can take the L away.
I love that. That was hilarious.
Michael Jordan's becoming you to hang out with you.
All right. Well, I'm ready to go whenever you guys are.
We need to have like cool intro music, like epic, like.
I can do a different song if you want.
No, the music's cool, but there needs to be like a little gimmick. You know what I'm saying?
Welcome back.
This is Joe Rogan podcast.
Check it out.
Training my morning,
Joe Rogan by night.
all day.
This is also extra promotionals.
You know who that is?
Uh-uh.
Nick Diaz.
Oh. All right. We ready?
Born ready.
Stay ready.
I stay ready. I stay ready for 1-star India reviews coming at me like 338 bullets out of an AR-15. Dodge those.
You're fast, man. It's like
That's how fast they were coming.
Man of Steel stuff.
That's how fast they were coming.
All right, folks, welcome back to Into the Lion's Den with your hosts, Ryan Karras and Christian Griffith. He's no longer Captain Yellow Shirt. So,
Bro, you were also wearing a yellow shirt.
I know.
I was not alone in the yellow shirt wearing.
Yeah, but you looked
It
good.
was a tag team effort. Thank you. Thank you.
It accentuated your
Yeah.
eyes.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So today we are going to talk about something incredibly relevant to something that's been happening in Pride Roofing and Construction. And probably, I don't know, it might bore some folks and it might really intrigue some folks. But we're going to talk about the struggles of running a business in the 21st century.
Technology.
Technology is like your...
Internet.
Yeah, it's like the double-edged sword. It helps you do everything, but it also kills you at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Well, how do we want to introduce this? You want to read some of those reviews, and we're going to talk about it.
Sure. Yeah. I maybe I give some preface before I start reading the reviews.
All right.
So we obviously we along with probably every other small business put a lot of effort into providing a service from start to finish so that we can get a 5-star review from a customer, right? Which in today's day and age, there's some interesting statistics about like consumer spending, how they pick the person that they work with, et cetera, et cetera. But in our industry, which would be the service-based industry, 87% of customers, actually, I'll get even more granular. 93% of women and 79% of men Google the company that they're going to hire before they hire them, right? So they Google them as a vetting, I guess you could say, right? Make sure they have a website, which is usually kind of a good indicator that they're an actual business sometimes. But one of the first things they do is they read reviews. Now, there's a bit of a misconstrued idea of all of the review platforms basically outside of Google, right? So Google is probably the only review platform that genuinely operates as a neutral party, right? So they don't hide reviews, good or bad. They don't not post reviews. They don't favorite or favoritize certain companies' reviews based on funds exchanged with them. They actually have some pretty tight and honorable policies around the reviews, and in my opinion, it's the best. Whereas we compare that to something like Yelp, right, which is basically run like an internet mafia, where they will legitimately post your bad reviews unless you pay them their membership fee, and then they'll only post your good reviews. Right. So it's that to me that sounds just like the mafia, right? It's like if you want the good, pay us. If you don't want the good, we'll just talk about the bad, and that sucks.
Yeah.
Right. It's also the same with the Better Business Bureau, right? So like I think a lot of people don't really understand that the Better Business Bureau is a private company. It is a for-profit company. It does not have any affiliation with any government entity. They have no affiliation with any consumer reporting entity, right? It is I guess I should say technically it's listed in the IRS code as a nonprofit, which makes no sense to me. Their central headquarters office has 18 people in it, nationwide. Their headquarters has 18 people in it. The lowest salary is $197,000 a year.
You know a lot about the Better Business
I
Bureau.
hate them, right? Maybe I should say maybe I don't hate them because we pay them.
Like, watch out. We're talking about the struggles of working in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to hear
somebody's going to find out. They're going to search keywords BBB and find out. But the reason I say that is because there's a lot of consumers think that the BBB has a different level of accreditation, or some people even think that it's tied to some type of like vetting agency that's governmental, and it's not. They've very strategically positioned themselves to look like that, right? They have a very government-style website that's very bland and boring and simple. But a lot of people don't realize when you're a new business, one of the first letters you get in the mail is from the BBB, and they say, do you want to pay us $750 a year, and we'll give you an A+ rating, right? So you buy it, right? When you are a member of the BBB, you also have more authority in challenging your lower reviews or bad reviews, and they will more frequently take them down and or unlist them. But they're a for-profit company. Those 18 people that work in that office cumulatively make like $3.9 million a year in salary, right? And nobody, in the times that I've spoken to the BBB for previous companies that I've owned, as well as when I was doing our BBB listing here, it doesn't seem like any of them even know what's going on when I talk to them on the phone, right? But they do put you through some rigorous background checks and things like that to make sure that you can be listed as the owner of the company, et cetera. But that being said, they don't discriminate on good reviews, bad reviews either. But if you pay them, they will be a little bit more forgiving on taking bad reviews down or list them as complaints and not reviews. But it can become a very toxic place for a business owner, right? It gives I think the problem is that there's no mitigation of verifiable evidence of a review, right? So you could have a competitor leave a bad review. You could have somebody that you've never worked with leave a bad review. You could have a family member of an ex-employee write a bad review. And there's, if people didn't realize, there's, review websites for employees, right? Glassdoor, right? There's other places for people to read these things, which are more useful to the public, I guess you'd say. But the problem that I have with all of these review platforms is there's no investigation on their end ever.
Unless you challenge it.
Unless you challenge it. And then if you read Google's terms and conditions on their reviews, it's 74 pages, right? Like it's such legal jargon that it doesn't make sense to anybody, right? I mean, unless you're a lawyer. But the problem with that is that it can put a small business in a really tight spot. When we started having these reviews come in, I started reading some stories on Reddit. There's some stories on other news platforms from local news channels, et cetera, that have done stories on some companies that have literally kind of been demolished from online reviews, right? And I unless you're deserving of them, I just don't think that people realize the power, or they know the power and they are exercising that power.
Well, keyboard warriors in
Right.
today's day and age know exactly what the power
Right.
is. Yeah.
Everybody's big and tough behind a keyboard.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So some of these ones that came in, just to preface last week, last week, 8 days ago, I got a notification on our Google listing that we'd gotten 4 one-star reviews, and I was like, shit.
What do we do?
Like I was like, because I've put a lot of effort into raising our ranking and collecting 5-star reviews and the benefit that has for SEO, for people that don't know, SEO is search engine optimization, right? For Google listings, lots of stuff. Reviews play into that heavy. So the first one we got was from Zintel Joko. Now my vetting process with anytime we get a bad review, which is rare, but anytime we do get a bad review, I search their name in our CRM. I try to do some investigatory work, figure out what could have went wrong, what did go wrong. I was fairly confident that we've never worked with a Zintel Joko before. But
We haven't.
yeah. The review is, I was completely deceived, very bad service, right? And then we get one 22 minutes after that says, the owner of this company is completely a scammer. If you accept the service, of course you will stumble. Like, I mean, that sounds like a bad poem,
Right.
right? And then we get about 12 minutes after that, we get another one. They are not worth the trouble, so I advise you choose an other business. It was almost a year ago, and I'm still coping with them. Then we get you know, these all come in sequentially. And the pattern I started to notice was that if we had one 5-star review come in, it would subsequently be followed almost immediately by 3 1-star reviews, right? So I start to think like, okay, well, we have some kind of algorithm trigger here where somebody has set up an automation where if our listing page gets a 5-star, it automatically sends fake from user accounts that don't have reviews anywhere else. And Krista Jenkins, apparently this is Krista Jenkins. And it's for those that can't see, it's a gentleman with a mustache that looks like he's from India, right? So, or somewhere in the Middle East. And then I started seeing the pattern where I'd see multiple names with the same review, right? Like there was a couple that came through of like, these guys drive through grocery store parking lots like maniacs and
Almost hit my kid. And it's like, now the pattern I'm seeing is that these people are trying to come at a couple different avenues is credibility, 1, 2, safety of the public, right? And they're trying to influence people's thoughts based on these really, 1, poorly written reviews, and 2, you know, reviews that have shock value for somebody to read and be like, oh my God, how irresponsible of them, right? And then we started getting ones, I don't know if you saw this trend, but they started to get a little bit more specific to what we do, right? So one of them is a hole in the ceiling needed to be fixed. The water heater's pipes were broken. We had a lot of damage to fix. In summary, if they truly cared about and appreciated their clients, I wouldn't have needed to go through all of this. I wouldn't advise it. Well, first off, we don't do plumbing. And second off, we don't do interior work, right? So, and then their staff is extremely rude and completely unprofessional. Another one that said that the owner of this company is completely a scammer. Of course, you will stumble if you accept their service. So, same identical post, different person.
Different name, right?
None of these names have more than that single review.
Right.
Meaning they just created a new email and wrote a review as a new person.
Correct. So we've also, so the process that we follow, I'm just trying to find some of these other ones that are bad, but the process that we follow, for those of you that may have had this happen before, is like so Google's vetting process is they need to know, is this review fake? Can you prove it's fake? Can you prove that they were not a customer? Can you prove that there was no transaction done with this person? Which sometimes can be very challenging, right? But luckily, we reported all these. We've gotten the majority of them down. But I think that it's like you said at the start, it's a double-edged sword of the internet, right? I mean, it's like, you know, we spend the last year and a half putting a lot of focus on our guys asking for reviews. You know, training them to the point where the service that they're giving is 5-star review worthy, right? And that was paying dividends pretty heavily.
Yeah, that was when we say that the focus of this conversation is the struggles of working in the 21st century, you think about it from my perspective, small business owner perspective, it took us almost 5.5 years to develop enough reviews and enough presence online to get our phones to ring and not have to get go out and knock doors for those leads, right? Nobody knew who we were. It was impossible to get your name to the top organically, so on and so forth. It took us 5.5 years, and about 2 months ago, we finally had the transition that we've been hoping for, right? The phones started ringing for new opportunities anywhere from 4 to 8 times a week.
Yep.
It's the dividends we're starting to pay from the work that was put in from the last 5.5 years.
Right.
Within minutes of these reviews coming in, our ranking went from 4.8 to 4.5. Is that right?
I think, yeah, it got down to 4.5.
So our 250 reviews that we've had published over time, putting us at 4.8. That took us 5.5 years to generate, and our phones starting to ring took minutes for this scam to completely derail us and take away all that energy and expense.
Right.
Right. So, yeah.
I think that if we go a layer deeper, you say it took 5 years to get to that spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, people will hear that as like, oh, that's a long time. That's a lot of effort.
Mm-hmm.
What people don't realize is how much money has been spent towards that. Not necessarily us directly paying Google, right? But like how much money has gone into videography, photography, marketing,
Training
right?
and development.
Training and development, right? So and I would say at this point it's probably safe to say close to 7 figures.
I would say it's over 7 figures in terms of what is dedicated towards getting to that position.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like 5 years, the painstaking time process. But then you look at the investment of that and you're like, fuck.
Yeah, really, that's all you could say.
Yeah, dude. It's like, and I take ownership over our online presence, right? So for me, I don't think it affects some of the other people like it affects me naturally, right? But like, I was frantic.
Yeah,
Right.
I was on top of a 2-story roof. You know, there's a flat roof, but there's no parapet wall. Standing next to the edge, trying to gather pictures, and I get this phone call.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You ready to make a really expensive phone call?" I'm like, "What? Why? What now?" You
Yeah.
know? And no, it's you know, I could see the investment that you have towards it, and the focus and the way it makes you feel. I can empathize. I feel exactly the same way. You know, and just to put a little bit of like true, I guess maybe some more layers into like how hard this thing's. As an organization, so when we created the mission statement, we wrote into the mission statement that we are going to remain unapologetically ethical.
Right.
And that was with every piece of the business,
Right.
right? And that includes reviews.
Yep.
If you looked at our reviews that are on there, they are true, dedicated reviews from clients that we earned. There's not a single family member. I've had all of my family members ask if they can make 5 emails and give me some 1 stars, and I said no.
Right.
I've had employees put up 5-star reviews thinking they're
them down.
helping. Told them to take them down.
Yep.
Right. Every single one of them is a true experience from a client that we earned,
Right.
and we provided that 5-star service.
Right.
Right. You know, and so, you know, and we served, you know, I don't know, 5,000 clients over time.
Right.
You know, it's really difficult to get somebody to write a good review. It's incredibly easy to get them to write a 1-star review. Right? The keyboard warriors of the world are instantaneously online the second that you do something wrong. So the fact that we only had, you know, a handful of real poor reviews, most of which were within our first year where we didn't even know what the hell that we were doing and we were trying to figure it all out.
Technically, we have 3.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
So-
yeah. So it's like to give some layers to this. You know, we remained ethical and got slammed by the true evil of the world,
Right.
the scam artists of the world, right? And we went as far as calling cybersecurity experts. You know, shout out to Nick. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say his whole name because I don't want to. You know, he's one of those guys that stays off of all of the handles and whatnot. But you know, he's in the background searching this stuff, and he's cross-referencing where this is coming from. You know, you got these reviews that have shell organizations built in Texas, but they're really actually coming out of an IP address in India,
Right.
and so on and so forth. Like, it's. I mean, everybody that's on or that's watching this has probably had, if they haven't had it happen, they didn't fall for it. They've probably had some form of scam. You know, if not every day, every other day, run right across their computer screen or their phone. You know, the telemarketers that are trying to get you to. Actually, I almost fell for a scam when I worked for the gym company. Actually, we did fall for a scam, but it wasn't as expensive if we would have fallen for it the second time. But anyways, like, everybody knows that this stuff happens, but because of the way technology works, it's incredibly easy, and it's so detrimental that most people just don't understand it. So if you think about how many dedicated hours it's taken to create a business where we do, 8 figures a year worth of revenue, and we have 25 people who it's their main income source, and we have the ability to make it to that top rung, and for somebody to just come in and just completely kick it out from underneath of you, it's like
Yeah.
why did we even do all this stuff if somebody can cause such a problem
Right.
instantaneously? No.
Well, and it's the problem with tech is that you're relatively defenseless, right? So like there's no quick fix,
Yep.
right? I mean, I would assume Google has probably gotten 1,000 reports of those reviews over the last week and a half,
Yeah.
right? 2 weeks, right? Of people inside the company trying to help us out, friends, family, reporting reviews, things like that. But I think that it's the scamming, phishing, things, PH fish.
I have another story when we want to go over another scam.
Yeah, that's most people. The way that a lot of these are done, most people outside of reviews, I'll say, mostly financial scams, but they're so clean, right, and well put together that you would never know, right? Like they always say, like, don't, if somebody asks for your social, don't give it to them. No shit, right? If somebody asks for your full name, date of birth, maybe something else, don't give it to them, right? Verify who they are. But some of these things are, and I was talking to Nick about this, like the advancement of scams and its direct correlation to AI, right? And now how they can program AI to act as whoever, right? And instead of Joe Schmo sitting behind a desk sending out 120 scam phishing emails a day, AI will send out 1.2 million, right? So what is that? We're just leveraging numbers at that point, right? If I can send out 120, but this computer program can send out 1.2 million, I'm increasing my likelihood of having a successful, unethical business by whatever means, usually theft, right? 1,000 times faster. It's mortifying,
It's terrifying.
right? Right? It's horrifying. So, but I think that like, if a company is well moraled and operates behind strong ethics, like we do, it's painful, right? When something like that happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, a business has been around for 50 years and has tens of thousands of employees. This isn't going to hit, right? It's not going to cause the same problem. But when they target small business, it could be make or break,
Right. I was the guy who runs the Level the Playing Field Facebook page. Been in roofing for I think 50 years. I forget his name. Very well known, very smart, knows the industry probably better than anybody. But he went on like this. He rarely posts in there, but he went on this tangent like 2 nights ago, and I was just dying laughing, right? Because he was taking screenshots of all of the big insurance companies' Better Business Bureau ratings, and then he did like Hancock, and he did Hag, and he did like all of these companies, right? He's like, well, this is interesting. He was like, you look at, I think it was State Farm's Better Business Bureau listing, A+, right? And they have like 650,000 complaints and like 3,000 5-star reviews. And it's like,
You're paying.
yeah.
Yeah,
But it's like how?
Yeah. Well, that was the thing too. When we first started business, I had a lot of people that were always chiming in saying like, you should do this and you should do this. And there's so many people are like, you need to get membership with the Better Business Bureau and put that on your trucks. So I researched it and I was like, so telling me that I can get a A+ rating if I send a payment to this person I don't know. Doesn't it seem a little fishy to you? I was so like I had so much, I don't know, not hesitancy. It's not the word. It's like pride. It's like I'm not freaking paying for reviews. And 3 years later, I'm finally like, all right, fine, whatever. Because I had a client of a huge client, big account. When I say huge client, I meant very, very large account, 6-figure plus type of sale. Went with somebody else because they had an A+ rating on the Better Business Bureau, and we were not to be found. And I was like, so I'm screwed. I'm stuck. I have to do it. And but yeah, it was like I'm not paying for a good review. And that's the thing that frustrates you the most. Like, I fall down rabbit holes occasionally when I'm like researching competitors. I'm trying to figure out certain things. And a couple days ago, I'm not going to say the name on here. I'm not.
You're
gonna
the
throw any
rabbit hole
jabs.
king.
Yeah, I do. I get real lost sometimes. But there's a competitor that got an award, kind of a prestigious award in it's nearby here, and we looked into their reviews, and they only have 50 reviews, but they have a 5-star rating on Google. And then you look at some of the reviews, and they're similar names that can be tracked to similar places, i.e., what was the name? Zitel Philippe, or whatever, right? In India, for a company that happens to be in Loveland, Colorado, who had great service in India from Loveland, Colorado. There's 25 plus of the 50 of the 5 stars were from it. It's like, so this business got a prestigious award from somebody who's supposedly the ethical standard of business, right? Giving a business award for ethics is buying reviews. And I don't know. It broke my brain. And then I looked further in the website and I find these like gray areas of the ways that they're selling warranties and certain things, and real conveniently gray ways of making sure their clients don't have to pay deductibles, which we've learned on here is
Highly illegal.
highly illegal, right? But they won a prestigious award for ethical business practice, right? So I'm like, it's like it's the hurdle. It's the hurdle when we say the struggles of working in the 21st century is you have to be up to date on every form of technology possible. You have to be the first person to answer the phone. You have to have the highest ranking. You have to have the best service. You have to have everybody talking about you. You have to be relevant online. You have to produce the right content. You've got to produce the right service. You got to train the people, and you got to make sure that nobody ever drops anything.
Right.
Ever. And if they do, you're fucked.
Yeah. 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 Well, it's the that just makes it, there's the right way and the fast way, right?
Just like everything else.
Right. So like the right way is much bumpier. I'll put it that way, right? There's so much like I ran into this when I owned the gym, right? Where I would be like, and I'm sure you felt this the other day reading that stuff that you were reading, but it's like, how is this fair? Right? It's like I'm trying so hard, and it's like it's kind of like the in a sport, like if somebody was just blatantly cheating and they won, and you're like, I'm the best though, right? Like I've put in the thousands of hours of practice. I've put in the thousands of repetitions, whatever it is, right? And they win because they cheat. Like how is that fair?
Right.
Right. So it's like, in a sense, it's a little. It can be very demotivating, demoralizing a bit, right? But you just got to kind of hold fast to the slow game. Usually, always wins, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like that visual that we talked about, the delayed gratification versus instant gratification. It's like, the visual is there's a guy up here that's in a wheelchair.
Right.
And then there's a guy down here that's going to, he's got his hiking sticks and he's going to climb the mountain.
Yep.
Right. The wheelchair, you get automatic kinetic energy. It's real easy to move fast, but you have to go downhill
Right.
in order to do it.
Right.
Right? You know, if you want to get to the top of the mountain, you've got to put in the steps.
Right.
Right. And so, you know, this in no way is like us on a rant, trying to demotivate people from, you know, trying their hand in the world of business in the 21st century. But it is probably a little bit of a, you know, tighten your shoes,
Yeah.
buckle up a little bit, because there's going to be some bumpy shit.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of what the internet has done for business since 1997, right? When search engines became a thing, right? And Google monopolized it, and it's new. And if you look at business as a whole, it's been around thousands of years, right? And the internet has been around technically for consumer use for about 30, 35, right? So it's it's still in its infancy, right? Which, you know, there's I don't know how many questions you've asked me about Google, and like the answer is I don't know.
It's like yesterday it was this, but probably not
Right.
today. Yeah.
Right. And understanding, like, sometimes they don't know,
Right.
right? It's just like this is how we'll run with it, and this is what works for now. And every, you know, Google is very frequent. Google basically changes their algorithms and coding and everything probably every minute, right? Whereas like on an advertising scale, you know, Facebook changes theirs every quarter or so, but it's the speed of change is so fast that it's almost impossible to keep up with. Right?
Well, it creates a gap, which, you know, for some people out there is probably a cool gap to be open, because they can fit themselves in there in that little niche, you know, if they're technologically savvy and they understand how it all works.
Right.
And they're, you know, that's a whole job. It's probably a whole job for a team of people, depending on the size of the organization.
Right.
Then you got small business people. You're like, well, I can't pay for that.
Right. Well, and it's very challenging from the marketing perspective of like Google technically has 11 different ways in which you can run a paid service or a paid advertisement, right? So like, and those are the ones that are just business to consumer, right? There's 11, and whichever one's working changes. Why? Who knows, right? So it's like having the people to help you deduce some of those answers. It's the same thing with Facebook in regards to marketing. Facebook, when I say Facebook, I mean Facebook and Instagram, because they're technically the same. But it's like staying omnipresent and understanding what customers are reacting to in any given moment, right? Which changes all the time, like all the time, right? So it's like, I mean, I've had conversations with Lachlan where I'm like, no, these videos don't work anymore. He's like, why? I'm like, I don't know. It's just not what people are responding to, right?
Yeah, you're constantly running like a chemistry lab notebook.
That's all it is. I mean, but that's honestly that's what drew me to the marketing side of things, and because all you're doing all day long is A/B testing. It's like, let's try this creative with this ad copy, with this headline, with this button, and then let's change one of those things and see what kind of reaction we get. Let's change 2 of them. Let's change 3 of them. Let's change all of them. Let's change from a video to a picture. Let's change from a picture to a carousel. Let's change from a carousel to a selfie style video, right? Let's just beta test, right? Which is expensive, right?
Yeah,
But I mean, it's like I was explaining to you the other day, when I'm building Facebook ads, any of our marketing content, it's like I would say 95% of, maybe more, I would say 98% of small businesses are, they go towards well, I saw my competitor's ad that looked like this, so I assume it's working because I saw it. So I'm going to make an ad that looks like that. And it's like, that is the cardinal sin of marketing, right? It's like you want to market against your competition, not do the same thing they're doing. Right. But most people have no idea the depth of what you can do with some of these Facebook ads, Google ads, things like that, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'll build 4 ads and create 15 different ad subsets off each ad, right? And it's like, but one, I think most people don't have time for that.
Well, if you're not a math whiz, that's 60 different things
Right.
you just created. Yeah.
Right. So, and 2, it's very, very time consuming. And the back end, like the business end of Facebook, the meta side of Facebook, is very, very challenging to navigate. Right. It's very confusing. Right. So it's like the low hanging fruit for business owners, right? What did you and your previous partner do? You just boost an ad, right? Or you'd boost a post, right? And Facebook baits you, right? And they're like, boost this post and 30,000 people will see it for $194. And you're like, oh, fuck yeah, right? Eyeballs.
Take my money.
Right? What people never realized, it's still to this day don't realize, hopefully you guys, if you guys are running small businesses, you don't do this anymore, but like when you boost a post, you're literally just handing Facebook money and saying, here, take my money. And what they do is they populate that boosted post to people that literally don't matter. They'll do it on a nationwide spectrum.
Yeah.
What?
When you said, well, everybody matters. But he's talking about, it's not your target audience.
No.
At all.
No. Yeah, it's. I could probably talk for 6 hours on just marketing, but I would say that marketing nowadays is tremendously more challenging than it was even 15, 20 years ago, right? Because 15, 20 years ago, you put out, a really well put together ad in a magazine, right? And then your phone would blow up, or you sent out mailers because people didn't throw them away at that time, and you'd get phone calls, right? Or they would flip into the yellow pages and just call whoever was alphabetically first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, right?
That's why there's so many AAA everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but nowadays it's like, it's a constant race, right? And the speed of change is so fast, and the attention spans of people nowadays are so low that it's like, how can I grab your attention in 3.5 seconds?
Yeah, that's another thing altogether is the just speed. When we talk about speed, like we've been talking about marketing, advertising, and we've been talking about the scams and whatever, but it's like your speed is important too. Your speed and your presentation have to be perfect. So if you're talking about like the sales world, you could tell me these numbers better, but if somebody, let's say they look up companies on Google, they're going to call the first 3 people that populate. Right? So kudos to you, whoever the first 3 are, especially the first one. But how long are they going to let the phone ring with the first call before they move to the next call?
Right. Or what
10 seconds,
what happens if the
5
first call
seconds.
just doesn't answer?
Right? Go to the next one. Go to the next one. And if you can't be there to respond within hours sometimes, they've already got somebody out there in the next hour, right? And if your estimate that you have produced is not there within minutes of being on site, they get another estimate, right? And it's like you got to be Usain Bolt in this day and age, and you got to understand every one of those technology pieces that are going to make your life easier and yet incredibly more expensive, increasing your overhead. You're going to have to buy into all those different things, and hopefully you're fast enough.
Yeah, I'm frequently against the reactivity in business, right? I think that responsiveness is much better, but the only place where reactivity, in my opinion, is very valuable is advertising and marketing, right? You have to react. right? You have to be able to see what's working. One thing that I learned that I'm very grateful for with Gary is understanding what's happening or what's trending to happen before it happens, right? So it's, if you can create something that is just a little bit different, that grabs attention a little bit differently, it's very likely that you'll get or you'll capture a larger audience than whoever you're competing against, right? So like Gary did that originally by just putting out short form content on Instagram that was very vulgar and very real, right? It's like this video you don't play with your kids in the car,
Right.
Because it's rather aggressive. But yeah, it's a. I think the reason why I like that side of things so much is because it caters to my ADD a little bit, right? And I can be
Squirrel.
very fast to notice what's gaining clicks or gaining attention, and make adjustments, pivot, change something here, change something there, change platforms, change where we're advertising, where we're marketing, and going from there. The only thing that I'm reluctant on is TikTok. Right.
Yeah, I don't even want to jump into that.
No.
Pool.
There's some very valuable advertising in there, but it's it doesn't fit our avatar, right? Our ideal customer, more or less. But
Maybe we should transition the conversation into some tips that we can give to other business owners or people who have some form of controlling interest in an organization that can make these types of decisions.
You mean share industry secrets?
Secrets. Who's watching? No. Some really powerful tips and tools that you can use to avoid certain pitfalls. If you talk about scams and those types of things, one thing that you should always set up in your business banking accounts is Power Plus payments. Those are incredibly valuable because essentially every time your company writes a check or pays something, you have to go into the computer system with your login and approve the funds being transferred. This we learned the hard way through somebody figuring out a way to reprint one of our checks and writing it to themselves for $83,000. Yeah. So that was fun, and yeah, it came at a really great time. It was the day before Christmas, and end of the year, cold times. You don't necessarily have a whole lot of money, and I still got to pay the bills.
Brutal.
Yeah. So Power Plus payments. I think it's set. I think every bank has a different form of it, but it's bank verification, expense verification,
Right.
which is really really powerful. The only time that's not powerful is if you got a Trojan virus in your computer and somebody's watching what you do and they know all of your passwords and that kind of stuff, then they can verify their own payments they paid to themselves.
Right.
So there still are, layers, but that's one. Tools for being able to be incredibly efficient. So when I was talking about the speed on base or the speed at which you handle your business, CRMs are, if you're not operating off a CRM, you are just absolutely fishing in the wrong pond.
You mean I shouldn't run my business on Excel sheets?
You should not. You should not have, your information should not be in 17 different locations.
Right.
And it shouldn't be mimicked like, this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this, and it creates, the user has to manipulate those transitions. It should be automated in some form and fashion. And that could be handled through housing all of your data in a central resource manager or CRM, right? So that's incredibly useful as a tip for speed. Then when it comes to training strategies and things like that, so that your team members are effective enough to provide the 5-star service, Trainual is incredibly valuable. Creating videos and essentially virtual training methods. There's lots of platforms for it, that type of stuff. But creating virtual training manuals allows you to train people without losing the opportunity cost of the trainer and not having to hire somebody and pay that payroll cost to have a training manager, or at least as in support of training. It's never going to be a perfect trainer. You're not going to learn from a robot. There's has to be application, question, answer, that type of stuff. But these are incredibly useful tools that can help you accelerate your business and avoid pitfalls or scams. What other ones you got?
Two-factor authentication.
Oh, yeah.
So this isn't just for business. This is just for everybody, right? But like, if you have, I think every iPhone, probably every Android, but anything that requires a password, you can opt in for what's called two-factor authentication, which means that in order to log into something, it then has to send your personal phone number and or email address, either a phone call, a text message, or an email with a code, right? Which is the most, even if you have a Trojan virus, a 2FA is pretty safe, right? Because you can opt for it to be a phone call, right? And they can't pick that up. But I would say, and I'm biased to this, so, but every good marketer that I know would agree, don't hire an agency, right?
He smiles at me because I did it. I spent too much money. yeah.
Reason being is that it's I forget what I said to you the other day about marketers. It's like they're one of the only industries where you can pay for a service with no guarantee of completion or follow through, because there's so much left in gray area, right? So be wary of marketing companies and or marketers who say they can promise results, because nobody can. I think that, I mean, I'll second your training, because I think that people undervalue training, or undervalue the importance of training. I'm partial to it because I like teaching, but for me, it's like if you don't correctly onboard people, you can never expect the success that you're hoping for.
Absolutely. You know, the fastest way to make money is hiring people. Fastest way to lose money is also hiring people, right? So understand what you're doing when you're hiring somebody, and realize they are an investment. And there's a purpose that they're there, which is to offload responsibility, right? And create a wider reach, and then ultimately increase performance. So if you do not give them the tools to do that, you're throwing money down a hole.
Automate, delegate, replicate.
Yep. So, any other topics that you want to go over on this one? I think this is pretty valuable information. No. But, you know, like I said, in about halfway through this video, it's not to deter people from trying their hand in business. What we really wanted to do with this conversation is break open your mind to things that maybe you don't want to figure out on your own. Right? Give you little tips and tools. But those tips at the end are incredibly valuable for anybody who's either venturing or has been in it for a while and is just wanting to expand. I do highly recommend having cybersecurity personnel, somebody who's, you trust to scan your systems, look through, and find vulnerabilities. If you're forced in the 21st century to utilize a computer for everything that you do, technology is absolutely essential. I don't think that there's any businesses that can run at this day and age without a computer.
Except for the sandwich shop and where you're from.
Yeah. There's a few. I don't know how the IRS hasn't shut that down, but anyways, it's if you are forced to use this platform to run your business, make sure that you have checks and balances in place, and make sure that you understand it's your plight in life to not have any vulnerabilities. Create a shield around yourself. Create a suit of armor that has no vulnerabilities. You cover from head to toe, including your eyes and your neck, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's, I guess for me, it's just important for people to realize that this could happen and it's real, right? So, like, understand the things in place that you do have power over, right? I'm still a firm believer in the fact that the best way to combat any bad review is to get 7 good ones, right?
Yeah. Well, and they outweigh each other a lot.
Big time.
Like 1-star reviews outweigh a 5-star review. What, 27-1? Is that right?
Well, so the number
Depends on how many you have.
it depends on how many you have cumulatively, but if you have it could be skewed as drastically. Obviously, like simple math. If you have 2 reviews and a 1-star comes in, it would take your average. If you had 2 5-star reviews and then 1-star comes in, it's going to drop your average to 2.8. Rough,
Yeah.
right?
Good luck. Good luck getting people to say yes.
Yeah, so it's basically if you have 100 reviews in Google's algorithm, 100 5-star reviews, let's say, and you get 1-star review, it can take up to 18 more 5-star reviews to bring you back to your average that you were of being 5 stars, right? The thing that's difficult with Google is that if you have any review that's not 5 stars, they automatically drop you to 4.9. So you could have, which is my biggest pet peeve, is when people leave 4 stars and they think they left 5 stars, or they leave 4 stars because they think 4 stars is the highest rating, and I'm like, you're literally killing me. You are like, yeah, I'm legitimately dying inside because of this 4-star review, right? But yeah, it takes in the Google review world, it's basically we'll say 12 to 24 5-star reviews outweighs 1-star review. So it's hard.
Yeah.
Right? They're operating from the principle of, it's like my favorite quote from Walt Disney is that it takes 83 good experiences to counteract 1 bad experience.
83. Walt Disney.
So Walt Disney. Yeah,
I
it's
wonder
like
where
his
that comes from 83.
So he said, I'll bring you the book he wrote. It's phenomenal. It's not a very popular book, but he had a creed of anybody that worked at Disneyland or Disney World, that if you weren't smiling at the guests, you would be fired on the spot. Right? And he said that he takes that philosophy because he said this is supposed to be everybody's happiest day of their life. And if one person has 1 bad experience, it takes 83 good experiences with that person again to get them to come back.
Yeah, it's powerful.
83.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure eventually this video and this information will cross in front of the eyes of somebody who maybe uses it for the wrong reasons. Reviews are important, and you could really tear somebody down with it. But I could tell you from my perspective, it ain't gonna stop me.
Yeah. And just transparently for your guys' knowledge, Google has some very, very tight parameters on paid reviews, right? And if they notice a trend and the trends that they look for are very granular. So it's like you're getting reviews from people that have left reviews for 14 companies in 14 states, right? They start flagging them, right? And they'll take them down. So just do shit the ethical way, right?
Do it
Do
right.
it the right way. Don't cheat. It's a lot more gratifying to look through your Google reviews years after years after years you've been in business and remember each 5-star review. Like, I remember that job. I remember what we did for that person. Or I remember their dog. I remember their kids, right? Whatever that is, right?
Yep. Every account and every sale has a story.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just use quality, be genuine, and we are encouraging people to do it the right way. I mean, that's our mission as an organization, is to do things so well that everybody is forced, at least our competitors are forced to rise to that same standard. So nothing's going to change from us. We encourage everybody to do the same. Winning because you cheated doesn't feel good.
Yeah. Don't commit insurance fraud. I feel like I should close every video with that.
Don't
and
commit
remember, don't let somebody eat your deductible. That's illegal.
That's illegal. All right. Closing it?
Yeah, let's close it
All right.
up.
Well, Well, thanks for tuning in to Into the Lion's Den. We'll see you next week. Please like and subscribe, engage, ask them some questions. Please don't hit us with any more scams. It's really starting to piss me off.
Scam guys. I'm gonna fly to India.
But you know what? I'm strong. We can handle it.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
Sweet.
Catch you on the flip side.
Later. The girl I dated that I ended up gently kicking to the curb because she emotionally kicked me to the curb. Payback's a bitch.
Let's see. Look at.
It was so vulnerable, and then it was funny at the same time.
I haven't pulled up the reviews.
Like all the old ones?
Yeah.
They got removed?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at this.